Good day, dear listeners. I am Dan.
My name is Louie.
And you're listening to Dead Man Walking.
Now this is podcasting!
Wrong, and you should just hit yourself in the face until you change your mind.
The gold standard for dumb storytelling.
Netflix doesn't make real movies, but controversy. Walking 2020.
Benny Doodle Cummerbund.
Good job, Luke. You did it.
What? His creepy lip!
What? I'm the new Kool-Aid Man. Previously on Dead Man Walking.
Is your body ready for the Han Solo movie?
Please tell me we're not watching that.
We are watching the Han Solo movie.
I don't want to watch the Han Solo.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are watching the Han Solo movie. It's okay.
They kicked me out of the flight academy for having a mind of my own.
Oh, God, slow down there. Such a rebel.
Just as soon as he said that, the cringe flowing through me. I was glad when Tomb Raider started, when the boring bike chase started, so I could not think about Han Solo.
I was kicked out of the academy for having a mind of my own.
No!
Close my door, Mom.
Get the tentacle monster out of space. Why? I don't like it. Why is the Millennium Falcon does a barrel roll and slaps the TIE fighter?
I know what you really are.
I don't
A
want
bad actor? I don't want to see the Solo movie. I want to see Dan see the Solo movie. Eager to see what he pieced together from that just circus. This has been Dead Man Walking.
I don't want to see Solo.
Yes, you do. Watch it.
I know what you are. No!
They kicked me out of the flight academy because I dared to think my own thoughts, Mom.
How did this happen? I liked the movie.
It's true. And trust us when we say nobody is more surprised. To start out with, considering the gloriously awful faceplant that was The Last Jedi, the reason we started doing this, we went into this film with every expectation of it just being a raging dumpster fire. Like, a horrendous corruption of both the universe and cinema in general. Flat out 2-hour crap show.
I don't think I wanted to go into a movie disliking it out the other end. Star Wars, what did Disney do to you?
We were looking forward to hating.
Like, you're making new movies, but they're in flux, man. It's as if I'm getting to know someone. And at first, they're kind of a boring person, and then suddenly they get kind of interesting, and then suddenly they start flipping out, throwing crap at me. And then they turn around and give me a cold one and sit down and start playing video games with me like they're my bro. Make up your mind, Star Wars.
What we're trying to say is, awful trailer aside, the movie was actually pretty good.
In spite of itself, in a way.
Now, don't get me wrong. The Last Jedi set the bar so low that a paraplegic Ewok could still clamber over it, but Solo was actually fun. It was stupid, it was cliche, it was cringy, but dang it was fun to watch. It had plenty of glaring inconsistencies.
Dude, if Star Wars movies, follow this trend, where they started, it was, kind of mediocre, and then it was oh, this is promising, and it's oh no, what did you do? And then it suddenly, flips on the other end of the spectrum. What are we going to get next? What's episode 9 going to be?
I don't even know. I mean, if they let Ron Howard direct it, it could be anything. Like I said, there's the same huge, stupid inconsistencies as there were in the other movies, but you don't really notice or care because it was just fun to watch. And it wasn't until I was watching it that I realized that's what I missed the most about Star Wars. They were always these dramatic, high fantasy storylines in space, but they were fun. And none of the recent movies have been fun. The Force Awakens was too busy trying to paint by the numbers. The Last Jedi was so pretentious and preachy it was insufferable. And even Rogue One, as good as it was all dark and serious. But Solo, this was the swashbuckling, shameless nonsense that I missed.
Well, and also, Rogue One, it pandered a little too much and in the wrong ways. So Solo had to hit certain bullet points. It had to, pander to, I think, the studio to a certain degree.
But they were able to do a lot more freewheeling.
But they did it tactfully, I guess. They kind of performed a balancing act between pleasing their execs and pleasing the people that, pay money to go see the movie.
I don't even know, man. I mean, like, all the signs, like, all the pre-production news, everything about the background of this movie said it should have been dead on arrival. I mean, like, what do we have? Like, the director changed halfway through. It was the, forget the names of the guys, the two guys that made the Lego movie. They got into some kind of verbal fist fight with Kathleen Kennedy and were replaced by Ron Howard.
Oh. There was the infamous, calling on set the acting coach for the person playing the lead role.
Alden Ehrenreich, who is actually American. He's got a weird name, but he's actually American. His acting was so bad they had to stop shooting to get him an acting coach.
But was it because his acting was so bad? Did he have a problem doing something specific? Because
I have no idea. The press...
There wasn't anything in this movie that indicated that he was like a horrible actor.
No,
I was prepared for Hayden.
Great,
no, he wasn't. But I was prepared for Hayden Christensen, basically.
Yes, that's what I thought. I was like, oh great, here we go. It's going to be like Teenage Anakin 2.0. It's just going to be a travesty unto God and man. And honestly, all the press surrounding the production of this film seemed to confirm that suspicion. I was like, this is going to be the best dumpster fire ever.
The whole film just feels unnecessary. Like, why do we need a movie that touches on, 50% of this is based on something that Harrison Ford ad-libbed.
It's true.
The Kessel Run in, what was it,
12 parsecs.
12
which
parsecs.
I think, is that a measurement of time or distance? I always forget, but nerds get really uptight about it.
I don't know, but autocorrect did not jump in when I wrote parsec, so it's a real word. But it's not something Star Wars made up.
It had nothing going for it. Like The Last Jedi killing the fan base, the horrible trailer, the random, unsolicited, self-serving Dumbledore-style announcement that, oh, by the way, Lando's bisexual now, probably, maybe, or something.
How did that come into play?
It did. They just announced it after the fact. It's, BT Dubs, this character that has no romantic inclinations in the movie is totes part of the LGBT movement. Please come see our movie.
Why does this matter? It's like Kathleen Kennedy is just desperate to just cling on to the progressive movement as much as she possibly can, but it's uncalled for. And it's like, okay, I have a weird eye problem. I have no depth perception. I'm not screaming for some film hero to be like the paragon for my handicap.
Where's the superhero who can't catch?
Yeah, I don't care.
And yet none of that bled through to the movie. Or you know what, maybe it did, but the film itself was moving along at such an exciting clip, you didn't have time to stop and pull apart the idiocy because you were just too busy enjoying the ride.
I mean, I have a theory on where that might have come into play in the movie. We'll get into spoilers with that one. But, okay, we're not getting the spoilers yet, just BT dubs. If you were a fan of Star Wars, I actually do recommend you see this movie. There are things in it that I did not see coming.
I've already had, we literally just saw it. It is Thursday night, and I've already had 3 different friends ask me, is it worth seeing? And the one guy compared seeing The Last Jedi to, being awake while your prostate's being removed slowly. He was not a fan. And yet I was able to honestly say, you will enjoy this film. And it's true.
The only summary you need to know for this movie really is that it does hit all the predictable plot points.
It's a heist movie in space.
That maybe came from Kathleen Kennedy. If it was just a heist movie in space, though, and didn't emphasize that it was a solo movie, I might have been even more excited for it.
Honestly, it stands fairly well on its own as a heist movie. The fact is, Alden Ehrenreich is not a convincing Han Solo. It just is. But he's an interesting character.
Actually a passable character and actor in this movie.
You don't hate him for it.
Right. He kind of gets the job done, and then the rest of the characters really elevate the movie.
It's the supporting cast that brings their A game. The two main characters are probably the weakest actors in the film.
As I kind of predicted, Woody Harrelson
steals every scene.
Oh, he's amazing
every
in this movie.
Scene.
As soon as he started talking, and I'm wondering if some of this was ad-libbed, because there was some Star Wars nonsense that got spewed out that I was loving, and part of it came from Woody Harrelson's mouth.
Everyone was looking forward to Donald Glover as Lando. Don't get me wrong, he's a great Lando, but Woody walks away with it. Yeah. Lando does not get as much screen time as I was expecting, and I love all it's not really a spoiler. They spend a lot of time making fun of his capes and his getup, which I thought was pretty good. Paul
Bettany as the mob villain
kicks way more butt in this than Vision ever did in pretty much all of the Avengers movies.
Comparing him with the villains that we've previously had in recent Star Wars movies, he's by far the best.
You know what it kind of reminded me of is Spider-Man Homecoming, where it's like you have a villain that feels a little more close to home. He's not looking to overthrow the galaxy. He's just looking to steal some crap and hurt some people in the process. That's it.
Yeah, he's a little bigger than like Vulture was. He does kind of run a fairly well-known like crime syndicate.
He's a mob boss.
But you're right. Like, it's nothing so grandiose. Like, he's not trying to like take over the empire or something. Like, there was none of that crap. You know, it was just what you expected a mob boss to do, but he did it so well.
And the whole film is just filled with these odd minor characters that may only appear briefly, but they still make you care about them in the short time that they're there. A contrast that's just so much sharper when it's put next to the cardboard cutout acting that's what we got from Finn, Rey, Luke, and the gang in the new trilogy. Oh my gosh. And it's just, like, it's such a sharp contrast. That's the thing.
Man, I'm just groaning over that all over again. And the fact that these characters were actually fun to watch.
Like, some of them had, like, 2 minutes of screen time, and they somehow still had more depth than Rey has in 2 whole movies.
It's true. I mean, Emilia Clarke, I thought still did a pretty good job, the lead actress.
She's done better in other things.
She has, but like I said, it was...
Maybe it was the script that she could have been hampered by that as well.
It was still passable. I mean, she was still an interesting enough character. I thought there was a lot of, like... Okay, so the weird snake-looking thing at the beginning of the movie came out of the water. It was Linda Carter.
Wait, as in like Wonder Woman, Linda Carter?
No, wait, hang on, not Linda Carter. Oh, Linda Hunt. Not Linda Carter.
That's the short little lady from the NCIS.
Complete
spin-off.
opposite of Linda Carter.
Yeah, that do not want to see her in a Wonder Woman costume.
No, Linda Hunt. So she's in this somehow. Phoebe, I needed to look this up. Phoebe Waller-Bridge as L337.
I could have sworn it was someone else. Like, it sounded so familiar, and I looked it up, and I'm like, I have no idea who this person is.
I was ready to dislike this new droid, and similar to Alan Tudyk's, whatever his droid character was in Rogue One, she was great.
Basically, she's just a sassy SJW that's played for laughs. A director finally realizes that whole thing is just funny.
And her name is L337, which I just looked at. It's Lee.
Leet.
Yeah.
Leet speak.
Ron Howard, was that you? I see what you're doing over there.
Anthony Daniels had a cameo as like a random Wookiee. You had Warwick Davis show up. There's a bunch of like little people popping in and out as like different characters that people are going to recognize. There's Easter eggs to find. I guess that's the point. And, you know, speaking of Ron Howard, this film had 2 completely different directors that kind of were at odds directing style, but unlike, say, Justice League, which had the same issue, there is no drastic tonal change. You don't know where Ron Howard starts and the other 2 guys stop. I don't know how much of it was reshoots. You don't know, and you don't notice either. That's the big thing. It just rolls along so quick.
Yeah, if you hadn't told me, I wouldn't have guessed. I actually completely forgot about
'Cause
that
it
whole
works.
debacle.
It works.
It did. I was about to give Ron Howard all the credit for this, but I'm sure it's interspersed between him.
He did a yeoman's job either way, though,
and also got to give credit to the writers because they pulled something off that I thought was impossible.
Now, like, there were definitely a lot of lines that were a little stupid and very cheesy. The script could have used some work, but
yeah.
On the other hand, it's a Star Wars movie. Cheese is kind of its thing, and the reason I think that Solo gets away with it is that the cheese. It's consistent. It's consistent cheese. You don't just get like these... There's nothing that's so jarring or stupid that it grinds the entire story to a screeching halt.
I feel like most of the cheesy moments or even cringy moments really just came from the fact that somebody said we have to make a Solo movie. It was like Kathleen Kennedy's in the background waving her arms being like, do the Solo thing! Down with the patriarchy! Sacrifice someone to the altar of Mouse! Ron Howard's like, yes, master, I will obey. And then he turns around, winks at me and says, I got you, fam. And then he proceeds to make a fun movie anyway.
It's true. The movie was fun, and speed is this film's friend. You spend so much time on this high octane caper across the galaxy, you don't have time to mind any of the weird stuff.
I walked in with a scowl And similar to last episode's Deadpool 2, I was like starting to just grin, have this cheesy grin on my face.
Just, again, it's like there's just these shenanigans happening, and you're just enjoying it. You get the familiar Star Wars score. It gets revisited. It gets a bit of a facelift. You get some beautiful shots in there, some landscapes.
Yeah, the music, it's one of those things where, it's regular Star Wars stuff. There's usually not anything to complain about. There was one track in there.
They jazzed it up a little bit with like that almost choir section.
Yeah, there was was it like a children's choir thing going on?
Maybe think of like episode 1 where like Qui-Gon was fighting Darth Maul.
Yeah, sort of like Duel of the Fates. But I'm curious to hear that track without so many other sounds over top of it.
Which says something that it's a song we're actually interested in hearing again. They were able to do something fresh with a Star Wars soundtrack. I
really appreciate that. Because I've been making that complaint about so many movies, about, Marvel movies especially, for all the things they do right.
You were saying there was an issue with the lighting. That was kind of a drawback.
Yeah, so visually, the lighting, there was like weird silhouettes when there shouldn't have been. There was, things were darker than they should have been. Now, Star Wars had a traditional, like, grungy, sort of gritty feel.
And it's not that. It's just like the light itself is just dark. It's hard to see.
Like, original Star Wars was well lit. This could have been that a little more. It would have been nice to see that, and it actually would have added to more of the real look.
The grit is spot on. They even brought back some of like the puppet effects for the aliens, which was kind of funny.
That was the first positive thing that I noticed, was the grittiness of it. Now, it is about an origin story of a smuggler, so it's bound to be a sort of more down-to-earth story. But like I said, I went to it with the scowl, and the first thing I noticed is, if they do anything right, maybe they'll bring back that grungy feel.
Honestly,
they did.
For me, like walking again, it's hokey. It's got some real groaners, usually delivered by the two main characters. But I think this is the first film since Disney took over that actually truly felt like a Star Wars movie. And dang it, it's fun to watch. I make no apologies. I liked it.
Like going back visually, it doesn't have that Marvel color palette that I think recent Star Wars movies were starting to do. And Marvel can keep that. That's fine, but that's not the Star Wars look. And I'm glad that someone realizes that.
They got back to the roots a little bit. It was nice.
The sound effects, I had nothing to complain about. There was no awkwardness of like a light speed battering ram where it just cuts out. You have the most visually crazy thing that's happened in a long time, that light speed battering ram, and what do you do for sound? Nothing. Nothing.
Daniel, less is more. It's transgressive.
At least when Paul Bettany's like waving around his... What the heck were those things? They were
who knows?
Brass knuckles with like...
Trying film to watch.
Yes.
That's the upshot. And frankly, I think both of us recommend it.
In short, unless
I think we're ready to move into the good, the bad, and the ugly.
You want to move into spoilers?
Look. Buckle up, kids. These are spoilers. And quite frankly, if you were giving up on the Star Wars thing and you're curious, don't listen to the rest of this, because there's some legitimately interesting stuff the film does that we do not want to spoil for you. Just go watch the movie and you can come back later.
There were so many parts of this movie that felt fresh and new, in spite of, I guess, the larger purpose behind this movie was really predictable plebeian drivel. That's what it was bound to be.
And yet it rose above it.
So,
for me, the first good thing I have is...
Spoilers, by the way.
Yeah, we covered that.
Stop listening if you want to go see this. First good thing. Go ahead.
Supporting cast. Yeah. You already touched on it. Woody Harrelson, Donald Glover, Paul Bettany, lady that did the voice. Like, it was all... Even though, like Woody Harrelson, what's his name? Beckett's love interest at the beginning. She's there for all of like 5 minutes, and you actually like sense some kind of chemistry between them. Honestly, the other thing I really liked is the lack of complete stupidity. And again, it's going to be compared to The Last Jedi anyway. In this one, we might as well do it. And this one comes out on top. The characters don't make consistently mind-numbingly stupid decisions. Instead, they're clever. They're quick thinking, and it's like a relief to watch. I thought...
Oh, absolutely. You don't have villains that are just children.
The final climax where Han just straight up shoots Beckett mid-monologue, and made me think of Mal from Firefly. And anything that makes me think of Mal from Firefly is a good thing.
Or, obviously, it was a callback to the just infamous war between fans and George Lucas.
About who shot first.
Exactly.
But it's nice to see characters actually do what people normally yell at the screen for them to do.
Right. The droid you mentioned, at first it's like, OMG, human overlords, subjugation, class war. And I thought, oh, geez, here we go. Like, I was ready to not like this. And then somehow she turned out to be one of the funniest parts of the movie. Like you said.
It was played for laughs, but not necessarily irreverently either. So it's not like if you find that to be a serious topic, you're not going to walk away offended because it's still treated seriously in terms of like what the droid wanted to do, but at the same time, it was also a moment of comedic relief when there's this great uprising.
When it plays out, it's amazing.
You see these little trash can droids just smashing keyboards.
It's fantastic. Free your robot overlords, and you don't normally understand what droids are saying, like the little trash can ones especially, but they're like freedom.
Honestly though, like, and again, it's kind of a minor thing, but the best thing in this whole film, dumb as it sounds.
Oh, wow, here we go.
Darth freaking Maul.
Darth Maul's alive, baby!
This is probably the biggest spoiler there is. Fans of the books they'll be busy making the squee noises because they'll all be called, Crimson Dawn's a thing now. But Lawrence Kasdan, the guy who's responsible for The Empire Strikes Back, it turns out he co-wrote this with his son. They resurrect possibly one of the most BA characters in the Star Wars universe outside of Boba Fett to head the whole thing up.
Oh, Ron Howard brought to the silver, or I guess Kasdan, we'll give him the credit, brought to the silver screen the righted wrong of George Lucas, killing off just one of the more interesting villains.
Now, no, apparently he comes back in the the Clone Wars cartoons.
Yeah, that's official canon that not enough people saw.
Yes, but this is the first on-screen acknowledgement that Darth Maul survived, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little pumped. pumped.
Oh, yeah, please don't leave me hanging on this. What's the next spin-off movie that I have to look forward to where he comes back?
I don't know, but I'm hoping that they can, Ron Howard can break into the studio, take over that third installment of the main trilogy, and bring back Snoke the same way, because it's another criminally underused character.
Yeah, Snoke wasn't anywhere near as interesting as Darth Maul was, or mysterious in a way that you want to know more about him.
They didn't give him a chance to be.
Exactly. I mean,
all right, what's this guy gonna do? All right, he's gonna sit on a chair until he's dead.
No, I'm imagining Kathleen Kennedy just has J.J. Abrams in her phone as the fixer. That's why he's directing episode 9, because in episode 7, it was like, all right, I brought back people's hopes for Star Wars. Episode 9 comes along, it's like, you're gonna fix this mess, right?
All right, well, enough about the main trilogy. What else is good about Solo? The Star Wars movie.
Those predictable bullet points that I said it had to quickly hit, a lot of them, like I said, were done tactfully. So, like, you knew that he had to meet Chewbacca. You knew that he had to win the Falcon gambling. You knew that he had to acquire his iconic blaster. For some reason, they needed to explain his name. That
was a little dumb. Like I said, there's some groaners in there. It's like, all right, what's your last name? I'm alone. Okay, Han Solo. I'm like, I get it.
Yeah.
Because he's by himself.
That was the beginning of the movie, so it was like starting to set the stage off in a bad way.
I was worried for a second, not going to lie.
Yeah. But meeting Chewbacca...
It worked.
It worked, and they didn't take too much time with it. Like, you heard a monster, clanging. Like, before they even threw him in the pit, they're like, Chewbacca's down there, of course. And they don't waste a whole lot of time with it either. Chewbacca comes waltzing right out.
And there's actually, like, the guy that plays Han Solo bounces off Chewbacca pretty well.
Oh, yeah.
He might not be a convincing Han Solo, but he does... It feels like there's a friendship there, which is nice.
And Chewbacca was far more entertaining for it in this movie than he's been in the last few. Is because he's bouncing off of his sidekick.
If you like Chewbacca, watch this movie.
Absolutely. The... And some of the parts that I liked and why I still kind of wish that it wasn't called Solo, why maybe it could have had Solo in it, but been more about just heists. The original things, I mean, like the train heist itself, like that was a cool design for the train. It was a fun scene. The space monster, the super fuel, even though when it first showed up, I thought it was going to be stupid.
We'll touch on that later because I do have that in the bad section for reasons I'll explain.
And the humor was so much more appropriate in this movie.
It was Star Wars humor. It wasn't like awkward, oh, haha, that's awkward Marvel humor.
There was a little bit of it.
But it was done more Star Wars style. Like, I remember, back in New Hope, when you see Han chase the group of stormtroopers down the hallway by himself and then come running back the other way yelling because he realizes that mistakes were made.
Yeah, it moves at a quicker pace. It doesn't stop to, like have you sink in this awkwardness.
I think my favorite joke is when it's just like they're in the Millennium Falcon, they're trying to get away from TIE fighters, and Woody Harrelson's character is like manning the one gun that the Falcon has at this point in its timeline. And he's like, are they still on us? And he's like, yeah, they're on us. He makes some obscure Star Wars reference, and Han Solo's like, I don't know what that means.
That's what I mean. Was that like an obscure Star Wars reference, or was Woody Harrelson ad-libbing something?
I don't know, but it was funny.
That's what I mean. That was like the Star Wars nonsense that came out of nowhere. That was fun.
And instead of, again, like the new trilogy, instead of like stopping, pointing dramatically at it, and then demanding, "Do you get it?" They just move on.
Yeah, they just keep going. It's great. There's a tad bit, like I said, where it stopped for a second, but it didn't bog the movie down. Just way better than, the last dysfunctional space ring show circus. Freaking Ryan Johnson, what's wrong with you?
Now, unless you got some more good stuff,
we can move into the bad.
There were some problems. We already kind of touched on one of them. The lighting really needed some help. Like, so much of this film is so dark, literally. The opening scenes take place on Corellia, and for a few minutes I thought we had stumbled into some kind of like special viewing of Blade Runner. With the exception of a few outdoor shots, it's straight up hard to see some things.
Yeah. That drifting that he does in the speeder at the beginning of the movie.
I was like, what's going on? I can't tell. And I mean, to be fair, that seems to be a trend in movies in general right now, and I don't know why. It's kind of annoying. Maybe I'm just old. Who knows? But I could deal with less of it.
Yeah, bring up the brightness. You don't need to have the colors pop so much, but just let us see your grunginess. Let us see the dirt.
I want to look at the background, man.
Like I said before, it can include Han Solo, but it doesn't need to be the main character. I don't know.
The main cast was a little weak overall.
Yeah. I mean, I think it might have been more satisfying to see his journey and like where he ends up in A New Hope if they kind of introduce him as like the rookie on the heist or something like that. Like
they kind of did, but I see what you're saying.
Basing the movie off the Kessel Run, like I said, was kind of dumb. But by the time they got into it, I was having so much fun that I stopped caring.
Yeah, and that's the big thing is like if your movie is gonna be like just dumb fun, you better make it fun, and that's the message that Rian Johnson and to be honest, the Force Awakens missed a little bit too. It wasn't really fun.
Yeah. The kid playing Han Solo, whatever his name is,
Alden Ehrenreich.
Man, I'm never gonna remember that. He doesn't. So, I think my biggest problem with his acting was when he was going in for smooches.
It was just weird.
It was just every time
no
he did
chemistry.
it, I was wondering why Emilia Clarke wasn't like pushing him away. Like,
I want to kiss your face.
Yeah, like every time she like was going for it, and I was like, "What? Why?"
Thankfully, that's only like once, and it's brief.
It's a couple
and
times, and it does end. I mean, that's way better than I thought it was going to get. I thought that the best part of this movie was going to be when it ended.
For me, the worst thing about this entire film, freaking space gas. It was stupid when The Last Jedi used the gimmick to justify the galaxy's most boring car chase, and Solo just shamelessly jumps right into the concept with both feet. All of a sudden, for the first time, starship fuel is something the Star Wars universe just obsessively cares about, and it literally drives the plot of the entire film. We even get like a Fast and Furious style in-engine shot of them adding a boost of space nitrous to their engine so they can escape a black hole. It's just dumb. And frankly, it's a weird direction to go. Just, we gotta go steal some space gas for a spaceship.
Well, I think it's more like the midichlorian thing, where they maybe explain something that they didn't need to.
Yeah. That's a really good way of putting it. It's like, we didn't need to know about space gas. And the fact that it's a heist movie, it makes it a little bit more palatable than just like, oh no, we're just stuck in space for 2 hours because we're being chased.
The story used it in a much better way than just, like you said.
It was the MacGuffin
boring,
they were stealing.
Right.
But still, freaking space gas. What the heck? You're telling me this...
Was it called hyperfuel?
No, it began with a C. I forget. It was like some kind of like weird material element name.
Oh, yeah, that's right. And
I don't even remember what it was. Like it's
what was just so
unobtainium.
So precious. A little bit of the political parallels there. I don't know if they were trying to give some sort of callback to real world events. Hey, war's always over oil.
It's coaxium, that's what it's called. They gotta steal some coaxium, super fuel for their ship.
Some coaxial cables. I mean,
just like the vials like fit in your pocket, but they blow up entire mountains. It's like whatever. Well, the first ugly thing was that weird Lovecraftian elder god horror that's apparently just hanging around in the sketchy space clouds to attack ships like the Kraken from Pirates of the Caribbean. It's not bad, it's just weird.
It is weird. It was one of the least believable things in the movie because it was the biggest CG-est of them all.
But once again, it didn't give you enough time to dwell on how stupid it was before it was already roaring off to the next thing. Which was, like I said, it was all right.
Right. Served its purpose, and yeah, I guess I was okay with the fact that, like you said, it was like vaguely Lovecraftian in the sense that, oh man, it's this place that ships should never dwell because there's giant...
Here be dragons.
Yeah, here be dragons.
And the people on the ship clearly had no idea what it was, which was fine, as opposed to like, oh, this is a Narlock from 4th, 5th, 7. I hate these things. That would have been worse.
Right, like and then it gets sucked into that like gravity well. It felt okay because, like I said, coming off of the last movies, which felt a little more Disney-fied, like it felt a little darker, so it was a little more welcome, I guess.
The one of the other things was a little more strange. So they apparently put Barry White's brain into one of those Futurama jars to sing a duet with some lady in the little bar and lounge on the Big Baddies yacht. And while it was funny, it was pretty weird.
It sounded bad.
Please, Star Wars, just let Barry White rest in peace.
It sounded bad.
It's just like this singing brain puppet with this lady. Just like singing a duet, but it's in like a jar.
We're never going to like have that cantina theme moment again.
I mean, I didn't mind it because I thought it was kind of a funny callback. It's just like you have like a regular singer and then just something really just out there.
But even the regular singer didn't sound that great. I just didn't like the sound of it overall. I was like waiting for it to end.
The last but not least, the ugliest thing in this film was the Millennium Falcon by the end of the movie. Which was a good thing. The trailers had this spiffy, unrecognizable Falcon flying around, and the nerd rage online was strong. All I gotta say is brush the Cheetos out of your neck beard and settle down, because Han's reckless driving fixes all that. It brings us the Millennium Falcon we know and love, and we get to learn the story behind each dent, scrape, and missing chunk off of that spaceship.
Oh, it gives it all the personality that it has by the time the original trilogy hits.
They crash on the planet. Lando's looking at his wrecked ship, and he just looks at Han's like, I hate you.
Lando realizes that he doesn't want it anymore. This is Solo's ship. It's great.
What else was ugly? Anything?
Yeah. Now I know how you feel when you watch good MCU movies that you think are going to be terrible. This feeling.
Vaguely frustrated.
What is it?
It's like this wasn't the horror you were expecting, and you're weirdly disappointed by that.
I wanted Disney to suffer, but Ron Howard is such a bro, he won't let me. I mean, okay, maybe Ron, like I said, Ron Howard, he's not
another
all the
ugly
credit,
thing in this film is Clint Howard, Ron Howard's brother, who makes a cameo. Clint Howard's a weird looking guy. There's no way around it. He just shows up briefly.
Like last week's Deadpool 2, there's enough like purposefully ugly things that we're happy for. Yeah, and the Ron Howard, Kathleen Kennedy, I don't know. I felt like there was a tug of war going on. Just, you know, you gotta have this in it. Ron Howard's, but new things. Let's do new fun things. It's Star Wars, man.
Honestly, at the end of the day, I don't care what anyone says.
And the thing is, we're not gonna know that backstory either. Like, I think Disney might actually be better at smoke and mirrors within their own company than they are with their movies. We're not gonna know the story probably ever behind those acting lessons, why they were there.
Honestly, I don't want to. I don't even care.
I'm a little curious.
This is just a darn fun movie to watch. And after the shambling horror that Rian Johnson tried to turn the franchise into, this is the reassurance I needed that a good Star Wars movie can still be made. I give it 8 out of 10. I liked it.
8 out of 10, eh?
8 out of that. It's a pretty high score, but if you like Star Wars, this is the movie that will hope. It might not be perfect, but it will. It's a new hope for the franchise, if you will.
Dear God. Why did you do this? I'm gonna give it.
Don't hurt yourself.
7.5 out of 9 coax cables. Fine, 8 out of 9.
That's the same. Whatever, man. Dan wanted to hate this movie. He couldn't hate this movie. All I gotta say is, You should watch it. It's worth seeing in theaters. It's a spectacle you'll enjoy.
Are we getting a sequel? Do we know what the next one is?
With the way they tease Darth Maul at the end, I sure hope so. Just for Darth Maul, I'll be honest.
This is the last movie I expected to want a sequel out of.
I don't care about what happens to the main franchise. Like, if Rey and Finn and Kylo Ren get sucked into a black hole, whatever, man. Good luck to them. I'm actually curious to see what happens next in Solo's story. Hey, what can I say? Dead Man Walking, 2 thumbs up. Coming up,
That's all I got, because I'm not that weird 4-armed monkey pilot monster.
He was good, too. A lot of good characters in this film.
Yeah. He would give it all his thumbs. If he was alive to be that meta.
So coming up, it looks like the 2 biggest movies coming out. Next week, you got that Upgrade movie, which there's been a lot of YouTube advertisement for. Looks interesting. Still up in the air about whether or not we'll see it. But,
was that less interesting Hardcore Henry? That's not first person?
Yes. But I think the big one we're waiting for is Ocean's 8 to see if an all-female reboot can actually pull it off.
Oh, yeah.
Darn it, the trailers make it look like it's going to happen. And I wouldn't mind it. If anyone can do it, Sandra Bullock can.
There's a lot of them in that movie. My girl, who's playing the one that they're stealing the jewels from.
Anne Hathaway?
Anne Hathaway. I love Anne Hathaway.
So
she's great.
Stick around.
Anne Hathaway can be in a Star Wars movie.
All right, calm down. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back. Maybe with Upgrade, definitely with Ocean's 8. Until then,
stay classy, and may the force be with you.
This has been Dead Man Walking. Great Star Wars movie. Who would have thought? Not me. Kathleen Kennedy. Still hate you.
No sweet.